Thank you very much for the opportunity to have the fun part of the afternoon, which is to close the proceedings and presage the ringing of the bells for the purposes of beer o'clock. I understand it's been a very fruitful day. I really enjoyed the dinner last night, where a few of us gathered together and got down to tin tacks. I feel a little bit rude, I suppose, in the fact that I'm taking what really should be the role of my very good mate Paul Papalia, who unfortunately, as Gordon said, had to absent himself from today because of a family crisis. But it is indeed important that we all be able to just continue on with the strategy and objectives of any government, regardless of who is there to execute it or not. And you heard from the Premier earlier today about our position in relation to these issues, not just defence industry, but defence capability, defence families, and in my other role as the Veterans Issues Minister for the state of Western Australia, for those who have already served and need our continuing and enduring support and assistance to ensure that we're leveraging their most precious asset, that is the skills and characteristics that they've developed in the Australian Defence Force. Steve Chabot, thank you for your attendance. I really do appreciate your remarks. There is not a lot between either side of politics in relation to this sort of stuff. We might disagree about which state gets what, but that's part of the contested space and very much should be part of the contested space in my view, so we have a competitive challenge to actually make sure we're relevant and doing what we need to do. Richard Miles, great to see you here again, mate, a continued advocate and evidence of the sort of support that you and the opposition have had in this issue, in this area, and want to grow as a national capability. The remarks I would like to conclude on, though, talk about our region. You heard from the Premier talking about our position as a sub-national jurisdiction and our role that we see for ourselves and the opportunity that we see for ourselves in order to create the sort of future for Western Australia. But we're acutely aware that we don't do this in isolation. We do this as part of a national strategy. We understand the frameworks and the white papers. We understand the defence industry's needs and wants, and we stand ready to actually capitalise on those and make sure we're maximising and exploiting those opportunities as best we can. For many, we see Western Australia as geographically isolated, but for me, actually, we sit here on the west coast of Australia as being a grand opportunity for the entire nation. We sit here as the sole representative of the Commonwealth of Australia in the Indian Ocean. We have the obligation, in my view, and the government's view here in Western Australia, to make sure we are shovel-ready and capable of receiving the sorts of ambitions and capability enhancements that the Defence Force wants and defence industry needs. Our perspective is national, even though we could be forgiven for being curiously parochial from time to time. We are a long way from Canberra. Whenever we do public policy, particularly in all of our areas around economic development, we have to ask at the fundamental level, why do we want to do it? Why is it important? Now, we've heard about an alternative to the resource sector, a diversified economy. These sorts of things are absolutely true, absolutely true. We are not looking for a counterpoise to the existing triple-digit international sector called the resource sector at $115 billion. The next nearest industry sector in Western Australia is agriculture at $9.6 billion. You don't create alternate industries to that sort of monster. You create complementary industries that actually are relevant to our society, to our community, to our capability and to our region. The other level of why is that cliche that many in this room will have heard ad nauseum, and that is the opportunities presented by the Asian century. And it's important that we do acknowledge it, even though it is a cliche, even though we do give a lot of lip service to this idea, that our role, particularly here in Western Australia, is to provide leadership for the nation into the Indian Ocean, into the opportunity that resides in our time zone. This is the why for me, for making sure we've got a cogent, sensitive, capable defence industry plan, defence capability plan to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to assist this nation to grow where it needs to grow in a very changing and challenging environment. The geopolitical and geoeconomic circumstances in our time zone present great challenges. But inside those challenges are great opportunities. Making sure that we are ready for those sorts of opportunities is actually the moral responsibility of any government, in my view. The Asian century is no better represented than the time zone that this state sits in right now, this very city where we're sitting here now. 60% of the world's population in this time zone. You've heard all this before, but it's important that we actually really do recognise it in the context of what we're trying to achieve. By 2030, currently there's more than 3.59 billion people that are classified middle class. By 2030, that number will grow to 5.3 billion people. The Asian region will experience more than 90% of the global growth in middle class households over the next decade. 5 people join the ranks of the middle class every second in our time zone, in this very time zone. It's important that every opportunity we talk and unpack that idea, unpack that opportunity, and understand the challenges that will come from that as we look to our near neighbours. 3 and 5 hours flight time from here, from where we sit, is some of the biggest opportunities that Western Australia and Australia cannot ignore. You heard that the Strategic Plan for Defence and Defence Industries that was released today by the Premier has very much laid out the framework on which we will dovetail and nest inside the national plan. Today's summit is the beginning of an annual conference. As Gordon talked about, this grew out of an idea and we intend to grow it even further to make sure that we're creating all the opportunities that industry needs to get in a room, to understand what's going on, understand what the opportunities are and get the support they need from government. We outlined a roadmap in that paper today, in that strategy. We understand and accept that it was resource light. We understand and accept we're going to have to find more resources. We are up for that challenge. We are working hand in glove with the Commonwealth on a bipartisan approach to ensuring that we are actually genuinely lifting the capability of Western Australia, Australia and defence itself. It charts a path to how we will achieve our goals. The state government in Western Australia wants to help lead our defence industries and universities to realise their full potential, and it will. And the vision is very simple. Our vision is that by 2030, Western Australia will have developed into an internationally recognised advanced manufacturing hub that is a preeminent base for operations for the Australian Defence Force and alliance activities in the Indian Ocean. What's really important to understand, and the challenge for government here, is that we need to move at the speed of the industry and the speed of defence's needs, and not at the speed of the slowest mover. We cannot let the weakest hold us back. We need to move forward on the basis that we are meeting the expectations of the national interest and doing it from here in Western Australia. I would like to conclude by saying thank you very much to Gordon Flake and his team at Perth USAsia Centre. They're outstanding in all of their support to us in government and certainly to anybody nationally in interpreting the international situation in a West Australian context and understanding where the opportunities are. They are very much a rich source of the sorts of support that a government needs in thinking, deep thinking on these issues. I want to commend the organisers for the outstanding event. I'd like you to join with me in thanking them very much and head to the bar. Thank you.